Hello, friends, and welcome to our class today, Phonetics and Phonology with Carol. In today's class, we're going to be looking at a topic that has been a great concern to many students. A number of students have thought that we distinguish between phonetics and phonology, and that is the focus of today's class. So we'll be looking at the differences between phonetics and phonology. For those of us who already know a little about linguistics, we know that linguistics is the scientific study of language, and phonetics and phonology are both branches of linguistics, and both branches are concerned with the study of speech sounds. So what is the difference? You want to find out? Continue with us. We start with phonetics. What is phonetics? As we've said, phonetics is a branch of linguistics, and it studies the physical production of speech sounds. Speech sounds are produced with certain organs in the body, mostly in the mouth. The production of the speech sounds is one of the concerns of phonetics. It also studies the characteristics of speech sounds, describing them, assigning them labels in relation to how they are produced and how they are perceived. Again, it studies the perception of human speech sounds. So much for phonetics. Let's look at phonology, the second field. As we said, phonology is also a branch of linguistics. It studies how sounds are organized in a language. How sounds are organized in a language. Different languages have different sounds, and how the sounds are combined, how they behave within the language differ from one language to another. So in studying the organization of sounds in particular languages, we'll be looking at an aspect of phonology. Phonology also studies how sounds are used in a language to create meaning. It studies the abstract sound patterns within a specific language. In another video, we've talked about the phoneme, which is an abstract sound, a significant sound unit of a language. These phonemes are the concern of phonology because phonemes vary from language to language. Ensure to watch that video so that you can also get the details on that topic of the phoneme. In distinguishing between phonetics and phonology, we were guided by 5 criteria: universality, functionality, typology, transcription, and association. And we're going to look at them one after another. First, we start with universality. Phonetics, as a branch of linguistics, studies the physical production and characteristics of sounds in general, human speech sounds in general. This is another way of saying that phonetics is universal. It applies to all sounds of all languages. And that is why one of the bases of the study of phonetics is the International Phonetic Alphabet, which is a reference point for all the sounds of every language. The symbols you see on the screen are symbols representing different sounds from different languages, and they are universal because phonetics is universal. Using also the universality criterion, or notice in our definition that phonology as a branch of linguistics studies how sounds are organized and used in a particular language to create meaning. So phonology is not concerned with all languages. It is language specific. It deals with such things as the phonotactic restrictions that apply to different languages. For example, the question of consonant clustering. There are some languages that do not permit consonant clusters. We know that English permits consonant clusters. So when you study such languages, you will look at what obtains and how they apply. Therefore, summarizing the universality criterion, we can say that while phonology is language specific, phonetics is universal. We move on to the second criterion, which is functionality. And in this criterion, we're trying to look at what exactly does the expert in each of these fields do? What does the phonetician do? What does the phonologist do? Phonetics studies the production, description, transmission, and reception of speech sounds. These are essentially all that a phonetician does. Studying the production, which is the articulation of sounds, the description, characterizing the sounds, naming them in line with their production, in line with their perception, studying their transmission, how the produced sound is transmitted from the speaker to the ear of the hearer, and the reception, how the ear receives it and the brain interprets it. This is essentially what the phonetician does. And what does the phonologist do? The phonologist studies the behavior of sounds, the distribution of sounds, the patterning of sounds, the relationship between the sounds in a language. And essentially, they are able to establish where a sound can occur, where it cannot occur, what kind of changes occur when sounds are placed in particular positions in a particular language. So, functionally speaking, while phonetics studies the production, description, transmission, and reception of sounds, phonology studies the patterning of sounds within a specific language. Our third criterion is typology. And we're going to also look at these two fields separately. We begin with phonetics. Phonetics is divided into four branches. The articulatory phonetics, which studies how speech sounds are produced by the organs of the vocal tract. Auditory phonetics studies how speech sounds are received by the ear and interpreted by the brain. Acoustic phonetics studies the physical properties of speech as sound wave signals, while forensic phonetics analyzes spoken communication, usually for the purpose of speaker identification. Okay, in using spoken communication as evidence in law and crime investigations, the forensic phonetics comes to play because it's assumed that with the right instruments, voice signals have the same biometric significance as the thumbprint and other unique identifications that human beings have. So basically, these are the four branches into which the field of phonetics has been divided. On the other hand, phonology is divided into just two branches. We have the segment of phonology, which is concerned with the individual sound segments, that is the phonemes of any given language. And then we have a suprasegmental phonology, which studies all the higher features that are superimposed on the phonemes. such features as the speech rhythm, stress, intonation, tone, pitch, length, and all that. Those are the concerns of suprasegmental phonology. So based on typology, phonetics is divided into articulatory, auditory, acoustic, and forensic phonetics, while phonology has just two branches, the segmental phonology and suprasegmental phonology. The fourth of our criteria is transcription. For those of us who are already into the study of phonology or phonetics, we know that transcription is the visual representation of speech sounds by means of symbols. And most of the symbols are not like the regular alphabet system that we used to write that has 26 letters. The symbols are often adopted from the International Phonetic Alphabet. So when we transcribe, we use these symbols to capture what is said based on how it is pronounced and not necessarily how they are spelt. And we can distinguish between phonetics and phonology using transcription because there's usually a difference between phonetic transcription and phonemic transcription. In phonetic transcription, the target of the linguist is to capture the details of the specific qualities of the sounds being transcribed. And these features can be captured using certain diacritics in the language. Such features as nasalization, devoicing, aspiration, and the rest of them are reflected in phonetic transcription, and the transcription enclosed in square brackets. The use of square brackets is a marker of the fact that the symbols are not phonemes of the language. And because of the detail that are involved, phonetic transcription is also known as narrow transcription. On the other hand, phonemic transcription, also known as broad transcription, involves just the phonemes of the language in question. So in doing a phonemic transcription, we simply adopt those significant sounds of the language in our transcription and enclose them in forward slashes, or if you like, slanted lines, which to the reader shows that these are phonemes. So what we've done is a phonemic transcription. So again, differentiating between these two on the basis of transcription, we see that phonemic transcription uses details of the symbols enclosed in square brackets, while phonemic transcription uses phonemes of the language enclosed in forward slashes. The last of our criteria is association. Already we have hinted on this, having observed that both phonetics and phonology are branches of linguistics. So they're actually related. They actually maintain some kind of association. However, while a knowledge of phonetics is required for a successful adventure into phonology, phonology is not a requirement for phonetics. And this was appropriately captured by the linguist Kenneth Pike, who says that phonetics gathers a raw material while phonology cooks it. That simply explains in clear terms the relationship between these two. Now, before we conclude today's video, let's have a recap of what we've been able to do. We've been able to establish that both phonetics and phonology are branches of linguistics and they deal with speech sounds. While phonetics is universal, phonology is language specific. Again, phonology studies the production, description, transmission, and reception of sounds, while phonology studies sound patterns, behaviors, and relationships. Phonetics is divided into articulatory, auditory, acoustic, and forensic branches, while phonology is divided into segmental and suprasegmental branches. And phonetic transcription is narrow and uses square brackets, while phonemic transcription is broad and uses forward slashes. And finally, phonology builds on the materials gathered by phonetics. I hope you enjoyed today's class. I hope some of your confusions have been cleared. Join us in our next video where we still unravel aspects of phonetics and phonology in Phonetics and Phonology with Carol. Thank you for listening and see you in our next video.